Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're taking a look at Sunbird that I've built up to be just under rank 400. And I gotta say, for a paywall character, although you do get 10 biometrics of him from the pre-registration, and you can get more biometrics of him from the event battle, I have to say that I am pretty underwhelmed with this character as a standalone PvE character. Now, he's got an amazing passive for support. He literally gives any of the Warriors of the Sky revive, and he might end up being, in the future, you know, in a couple weeks to a month, he might end up being an integral part, like the key part to a very strong Warriors of the Sky PvP team, because allowing 6 characters, or allowing 3 characters to turn into 6 characters because they can all revive is a pretty serious bonus. But some players are going to build him up and want to use him standalone, and I was actually really looking forward to playing as him because he looks really cool, and I love the pirate motif. But he just feels weak. He doesn't feel that strong to me, and he just doesn't do many things uniquely, in a unique way, besides Ashen Rebirth. Ashen Rebirth is amazing, but other than that, I don't think he really brings a lot to the table. But he's a good striker for World Boss because of the fire resist down. So it's kind of a weird thing. The character has some abilities that make him really good. He has some really good effects, and he can be paired with other characters to make them great. Like, he, you know, lets Blue Dragon revive, Shadow Shell revive. That's going to be a pain in the ass for PvP, and for even makes them better for World Boss. And he's going to power up, you know, all of the fire damage characters that you have on your roster, including Tier 3 Jean Grey, because as a striker, he's going to do Burning Blade to drop 30%, minus 30% all of fire resist down every time he strikes. But then, as a standalone character, his damage is just really low. Despite having his own fire resistance that he adds that buffs his skills, which are all fire damage, despite having, 6 seconds of invincibility, and he's got a 2-second paralysis. You know, he's got a heal, but the heal isn't really not that good. It's 5% for 1 second, so he can't really survive well. He doesn't have many iframes. 1's not an iframe, 3's not an iframe, 2's not an iframe. Maybe 3's like a partial iframe, but you're really just counting on the paralyze here and the iframe / invincibility here. Now, I'll go through my build. I've got some ignore defense along with some physical attack just to cap out his stats. We've got almost capped ignore defense, capped cooldown, and then everything else is just sort of there. He's got a baseline of 23% fire damage, which is low. It's just the 20% he gets from his Wings of Cinder passive, and then the 3% he gets from his Flame ability. We've got Power of Angry Hulk, which I think is the best for all of the Warriors of the Sky. And then we've got Ignore Dodge 180 proc. I put the Ignore Dodge on because I have a feeling he might be pretty good against Corvus. Corvus has low defenses, and so taking advantage of low defense and reducing his elemental resistance could be a really big deal. And I do think he does shine a little bit better against Corvus, but I'm disappointed with his play against Proxima. I'm disappointed in his survivability, and he has literally no value against Ebony because although he deals elemental damage, he deals physical elemental damage. So elemental damage is not its own type. It's still classified as either physical elemental or energy elemental. That's why Inferno and Human Torch, they can do Ebony to a higher degree, 30, 40, 50, 60, because they deal energy elemental. But characters like Ghost Panther, characters like Sunbird, they deal physical elemental, even Red Hulk. So they're not going to be able to do... They can still do damage to Ebony Mob, but they're going to struggle way more. They're really not going to do the damage they're supposed to do. And so, yeah, a character that revives actually has, I think, the lowest survivability on the team, which is really weird. He's a pirate from like 400 years ago, according to his lore, but he cannot survive in a battle, as you're going to see. I mean, War Tiger has the auto healing, which is amazing. Shadow Shell has damage reduction, and she's got more iframes, and she's got immunity, which is better than invincibility because you don't get debuffed. And then Blue Dragon has ignore dodge, and she's got all defense and super armor, and she's got lots of iframes. He is the only Warrior of the Sky who does not have super armor, so he can be guard broken. That's partially why they gave him invincibility, because it gives you super armor for the 6 seconds, but it's on a 9-second cooldown, so you can still be guard broken in between. And he doesn't have any all defense. He does have 30% guaranteed dodge, but I just don't find it to be very impressive. And so the shitty thing is, you know, we got a premium character here, and he's slightly less premium because of the fact that he was given, you know, as a 1-star character to all players. But if you look at their track record, I mean, Slapstick was amazing. That is what Sunbird should have been. All defense down, healing, revive. You know, he's got weapons. He's got damage, okay? Accumulation. Arrow was so-so. Kitty Pryde was terrible. Kitty Pryde came before Arrow, and Electro is terrible. So it's like every other... I was gonna make the joke, but basically every other premium character is just terrible. I don't really understand what the deal is with this. Is it that they're trying to sell these characters to give them uniforms in the future, or is it just the fact that they don't want to make every single premium character too good, too strong, because then, you know, people are gonna cry foul that it's like, you know, pay to win and stuff like that? I don't really know, but here we go. You can see the comparison here. We're gonna bring the exact same team up we did for War Tiger, so you can compare these two characters side by side. One of them you can tier 2 instantly. Free character, War Tiger. The other one is Sunbird. Okay, check this out. No strikers, and yeah, okay. War Tiger did struggle with without strikers on this stage, but still, compare the survivability and compare the damage, because even if his damage is better than War Tiger's, if his survivability is worse, you've got yourself a pretty suspect situation. So we're going to open with 5. It's hard to proc on 5, and I don't like the damage on 5 personally, but whatever, it is what it is. We use the 4 to drop the Paralyze, and then we go back into 5. We missed the proc there, so now we're going to do 4 and try to proc on 4. And then 3 has decent damage. That's what I found. But generally speaking, you want to proc on 5. The damage on 4 is absolutely horrible. Like it's one of the lowest damage. It's one of the lowest damage dealing fourth skills I've ever seen. So generally speaking, you proc on 5, and then you can use 3 after that, and then you can just use 4 to protect yourself. The annoying thing, if you're going to build him with a regular damage proc, is that the plume of fire that comes at the end of the 4th skill right there when it goes up, that can sometimes interrupt your damage proc because the 5th skill has such a long cooldown. So again, we have a character who isn't very easy to play. We have a character who sort of fights the mold of traditional damage procs and puts you in a situation where you're looking already at a CTP of Rage or a CTP of Judgment, or you know, something that's going to make it just a little bit easier to you know, set him up. But as you can see, he takes damage, and the 5% heal is such a joke. It's 2,000 HP. What am I going to do with an extra 2,000 HP when I'm getting hit for like 8,000 a tick, right? Maybe if it was 5% HP for like 3 or 4 seconds, so it added up to 15 or whatever. It's got a short cooldown, so you can spam it every 5 or 6 seconds, but you can barely fit the second skill into his rotation as it is. As you can see, he's got a long animation on 3, he's got a long animation on 4 unless you interrupt it, and then he's got, of course, a long animation on 5, and you can't interrupt the animation on 5 if you want the damage. You can't interrupt the damage, you can't interrupt the animation on 4. 4 is a really nice instant cancel into the Paralyze, and that might be good in another game mode, that might be good for like PvP, but it's just not very good for PvE, just simply because the 5th skill has such a long cooldown, so it just doesn't synergize well. Because for this rotation, the damage looks good. Wow, you procced on 5 and 4. I can't really proc on 5 and 4 for the next rotation. He died, by the way. I can't proc on 5 and 4 for the next rotation unless I wait an extra 2 seconds. So delaying every single proc by 2 seconds means that by the end of 2 minutes, you've lost so much damage because you've skipped so many procs. Because every 4 procs that you delay by 2 seconds, you've skipped an entire proc of 7 seconds. So yeah, he looks pretty bad against Proxima, and that is with a better team up than War Tiger had, because I'm giving him an extra 50% fire damage. So this is basically 2 leaderships. It's 50% fire damage, it's 45% physical attack, and it is the regular, you know, increased damage against supervillains, decrease incoming damage from supervillains that these support type characters give. And this is a double premium character lineup. This is not a cheap lineup. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a silver lining. I don't want to just shit on this character for 24 hours straight, but I do have to say that I think, you know, somehow they managed to make Sunbird worse than War Tiger. I don't really see how. Like, I don't know why they thought a 5-second heal was going to be enough for this character. He doesn't have any defenses, so if he gets hit, he's going to lose like half of his HP. So, you know, like, if he had a low HP heal, like Quicksilver, let's say Quicksilver heals 10%, then you got to give him more guaranteed dodge. That way he doesn't get hit as often, so even if he does get hit once and it takes a huge chunk, even if he loses 60% of his HP, he can slowly heal that up. But 30% guaranteed dodge is not enough to dodge attacks, especially when you only really have one true iframe in his 5th skill, and that's also the skill that gives you invincibility. So Yeah, I think the design for Sunbird was a little bit lazy, was a little bit illogical, because he really does seem to lack both survivability and damage, and his skills just don't synergize well with each other. The fourth skill interrupts the fifth skill. The fifth skill has invincibility and iframe simultaneously, which seems so pointless to me. Yeah, I don't know. And then 3 deals good damage. So there's that. So now let's try him against the stage 55 Corvus. Corvus is one of the easiest world bosses. Him and Ebony are like on the bottom rung of just like so easy. If you can lower their defenses, Ebony and Corvus have just like super brittle bones, and you can just snap them right away. And because I gave him 40% ignore dodge on his 5th skill, we just have to throw on 3 random strikers to get to 100%. So now we're going to dodge, we're going to ignore the dodge, and we're going to hit Corvus on all of his attacks. So here we go. This is going to definitely look better, but we still have issues. Oh, by the way, one more thing. There is a slight wind-up on Sunbird's 5th skill. So if you're not careful, you can actually get stunned during that opening intro animation. Yay. So we're doing pretty well right now, and by contrast, this looks a lot better than the damage he was doing against Proxima. We also can, if we had timed it better, we can interrupt Corvus's charge up here. I actually want to reset to show you guys. So when you get down to this phase of the fight, once you cross over from 6 to 5 bars, Corvus will go into the next phase of his attack. We just got paralyzed there. Corvus will go into the next phase, and if you use the 4th skill to paralyze him, you actually interrupt him, and then he doesn't go into that phase anymore. So there, we just skipped it. I showed you guys. He was getting ready to do that animation, but because we paralyzed him, and same thing goes for Charm, Mind Control, Entice, Freeze, any sort of interruption will basically make him forget what he was going to do next. Because he's an old man, and then you can basically just avoid the part where he buffs up, where he shoots those fireballs at you, and then where the 8 purple spears come, a la his wife, Proxima. So the damage here is a little bit better. It's still a bit dicey, you know, given the fact that we're only at a stage 55, but this is actually pretty good for not having any mind control strikers and not having any other powerful combos. We are giving him more fire damage in this case because for him specifically, for Corvus specifically, having such low defenses means that I'd rather take advantage of his fire stat and stack that up. That's why I didn't do that against Proxima, and I went with just physical damage because she has higher defenses anyways. So, you know, the extra fire damage I found didn't make as much of a difference as I would have liked. But I think that it is better against Corvus. But we're still actually pretty low on time, and we actually just died there. So this is definitely not, you know, a guaranteed breeze through regardless. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty disappointed in Sunbird, given not only my personal joy for the character's design and wanting him to be good so I can play with him and, you know, enjoy that, but also the fact that he is a premium character, and players who are joining the game in the next month or 2 or 3 are not going to get a 1-star Sunbird automatically. They're not going to get access to the event battle, so they're just going to have to shell out $10 and then use rank up tickets anyways. And yes, in case you're wondering, Sunbird will look better like War Tiger with all defense down strikers. Because he has elemental damage down, or sorry, elemental resist down, that synergizes really well with all defense down. So yeah, I could do Proxima 50 or 55 if I had given him, you know, Weapon Hex, Negasonic, Invisible Woman, if I had given him those strikers. But the reason why I did that for War Tiger and I don't want to do that for Sunbird is War Tiger's free. Sunbird's not. So the fact that Sunbird can barely keep up with War Tiger when you make the playing ground equal, i.e. you take away strikers, it's just pretty stupid in my opinion to then try and make him sound better when you throw on strikers, because everyone's better with strikers. That's sort of an obvious thing. So yeah, I really do think that Marvel Future Fight should go back. I think they should tweak War Tiger by maybe like 5 to 10%, increase something somewhere. But I think Sunbird needs a larger tweak. I think he needs like a 20 to 25% tweak. When I say 20 to 25%, I don't mean like stat-wise. I just mean in general. you need to buff up his heal. You need to buff up his, his dodge. Maybe give him an extra iframe. Maybe give him a couple of seconds of immunity on one of his skills. He needs something offensively or defensively to bring this character up, because right now he's just not worth it, other than for players that already have a 1-star Sunbird, because then they can just for free use a mega rank up ticket on him and not actually have to spend real money. But players coming in later having to spend real money, I don't think it's worth it. The only way it's going to be worth it, the only way that I'm wrong about this, is if he's very, very strong for PvP as a support character. And that's possible. It's definitely a possibility, which is what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And he's also still valuable no matter what, tier 1 or tier 2, as a striker in World Boss, to drop that ignore immunity fire resistance down for your fire damage characters. So if you play with them a lot, Human Torch, Inferno, Jean Grey, Emma Frost, etc., he does become a valuable asset for your team, and he's one of the few characters that applies fire resistance down as a striker. I think he actually might be the only one that applies it as a striker. I know Emma Frost has it, but I don't think she applies it as a striker. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Sunbird. Am I being too hard on him, or is this a real review? Thank you so much for watching. Hit me up in the comments with your opinions, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.